So more data came out to support what we've been saying for many, many years, proving that regional investing is boom or bust. So CoreLogic's Property Pulse report goes on to explain that Australia's property downturn continues to take its toll on premium regional markets that benefited most from the mass exodus away from capital cities during the heights of the pandemic, with softer values, longer days on market, and bigger vendor discounts. Now, too often we receive inquiries from potential clients looking to build wealth who've been sold this false narrative promising that you can buy 10 or 20 properties and live off the cash flow. But when you actually take away the sparkle and the sales spin, the numbers don't add up. And I did these for some clients over the past couple of months because I've just been sick of people asking me about this. So according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, our yearly median personal income was $52,338 for 2018 to 2019. Now that's across the nation, and I personally think that's a little bit low, but it's what you know, okay? So let's take that as a control number, 52,338. And if you think that's low too, that makes my example probably even more powerful. Now, according to CanStar, interest rates are around 6%, okay? They've just probably gone up now from the announcement yesterday, but 6.16% overall. I just took a control amount of 6%, meaning that you would need a portfolio worth $5 million, paying over 7% rental income to make 1% profit from that rental income to earn $50,000 a year in cash flow. Oh, and before you'd earn $50,000 a year in cash flow, you have to pay tax on that and costs, rental management fees, insurances, etc., maintenance. Now, with the latest numbers from CoreLogic showing that the gross rental yields for dwellings across combined capitals is only 3.7%, that's 2.3% below a neutrally geared property, let's do the math. So 3.7% of the value of a property at the median combined capital value of $779,155, according to CoreLogic, that's what the median value is across the nation. So I took those two numbers. That works out to be a gross rental income of $28,828.73. Now, assuming that you're going to pay 6% interest rate on that particular purchase and not considering, as I said, maintenance, management costs, insurances, etc., the property is negatively geared by $17,920.57. So some will say, but I've been told that I can buy cheap property that will give me high rental yields and good capital growth. Look, the combined regional gross rental numbers are in front of you here. I've highlighted them, okay? So that you can see them versus the capital cities below. Yes, the rental incomes are higher, but we've established that income isn't enough. You actually need capital growth as well. So these areas have had growth over the past few years due to a once-in-a-lifetime event like COVID-19, but that's behind us now. And people are no longer moving regional. The numbers are not showing that. And we know for a fact that over the course of 18.7-year property cycles, regional areas do not outperform the combined capital city averages in price growth in Australia. Okay, it just doesn't happen. So if anyone tells you otherwise, ask them if anyone's pitching you a property in Rockhampton, Queensland, and I'm just picking that because it's over 700 kilometers northwest of Noosa, and I had a client come to me the other day with one of those properties. Look at the 20-year capital growth in those areas. Okay, not the past 5 years or even 10 years where they've cherry-picked some stuff. Look at 20 years and you'll see it's had no growth. Okay, so this quantity over quality strategy, it actually doesn't bring investors closer to their wealth goals. Not to mention the amount of stamp duty for purchasing you've got to pay, purchasing costs, conveyances, having to manage the tenants, maintenance, on these, 10 or a dozen properties or whatever it may be. Okay, and I get it. When the market was red hot and booming, like we saw in 2020 and 2022, you could have thrown a dart at a dartboard and still made some money, okay? But people that have bought these properties are quickly seeing the limitations and consequences buying into the hype of these get-rich-quick schemes, okay? So just think about it. And this is why we don't recommend that our clients buy in regional areas. And when I say regional, I'm not talking about 50 or 60 Ks from the CBD. I'm talking about greater regional areas, okay? I'm talking about 100 plus kilometers from a CBD. And regional areas with volatile employment and population drivers is always risky. New house and land estates on large edge of civilization areas with no historical data. I'm not saying all off the plan is bad. It just needs to be boutique. It needs to be in a great location. It needs to show some unique value. Oversupplied cookie cutter, off the plan properties with no unique appeal. I'm talking about, high-rise buildings when there's 452 bedroom units that are all being built at the same time. Old, tired, handyman dream properties that require hours of your time and thousands of dollars to renovate. So those are properties we do not recommend, okay? I often talk about balance and knowing your goals. So higher rental yield properties may have a place in your portfolio. They certainly have a place in mine. But we believe that these come after a strong foundation of capital growth driven properties that have been purchased, okay? So I'm going to give you some examples now. For more than 3 decades, Providence have helped Australians open up a life of opportunity through real estate and given them the future that they want. And we buy unique quality assets in areas where demand outpaces supply. And we focus on property that appeals to the much larger market of owner-occupiers, which take up 70% of buyers, and not investors, which only takes up 30% of buyers. So we buy in the right capital cities at the right time, guided by economic property cycles. We buy the property which is uniquely suited to your situation, which will act as a springboard to your next wealth building stage. And this is how top performing investors build wealth. Now, I'm going to show you, I've been asked this a few times, well, Jay, what are you buying? I'm actually going to show you one of the regional style type properties that I purchased. And when I say regional, I'm saying less than 50 kilometers from the CBD. All right. So I wanted to show you this one. I bought this for myself in December last year. I secured this in, it's a 1970s build. I purchased it, as I said, in December last year. 700 square meter block, $395,000. It was last sold for $310,000 in August 2014, 8 years ago. So it sold $85,000 more to me. Now, I know about the history of WA, and I know about what happened when these people bought it. So, quick history lesson. In 2014, the Eurozone crisis happened. What's that, Jay? The Eurozone crisis is when Portugal, Ireland, Greece, and Spain all came out and said, hey, we might all be going into a recession. We don't have enough money. And then, ironically, the UK came in and said, we're going to be together forever. And then they're the ones that left first. But basically what happened was China and India then looked at that potential recessionary period for the Eurozone, and they said, we have to slow down our production because they're our biggest customer. So they picked up the phone and they called Rio Tinto, BHP, Fortescue Metals, etc. And they said, let's slow down on these iron ore, copper orders, team. We don't need as much. So what happened is unemployment started to increase in WA, and then property prices started to drop because population growth was also stinted. This is just following the breadcrumbs, people. That's all you've got to do. There's no magic formula. There's no black box AI system or hotspot zones. This is how you pick property markets, okay? So this property that I purchased has an inbuilt garage, which you can see on the right-hand side. It's also got another garage that they've built on the left-hand side here that they built after they purchased it. Now, I'm going to knock this down because I'm going to build a battle axe style entry to my secondary dwelling that I'm going to build at the back. Now, I'm sacrificing a little bit of yield here because I probably could have got a little bit more than I got, and I'll show you what I got, which I think is still pretty amazing. But I sacrificed a bit of yield because I looked for something that was recently renovated. Okay, so this was a fully renovated property, kitchen, laundry, bathroom, large separate family games room that they did a development application and built, split reverse cycle aircon, ceiling fans in all the bedrooms, solar power. So this is the DA approved extension that they did, and as I said, I bought it for $85,000 more than when they purchased it, and they did all these renos for me. How fantastic! Using Google Maps, we can see really large front yard and really large rear yard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demolish that carport because you see I've got a really nice yard here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a secondary dwelling on this. So this is my plan. 4.5 meters from the boundary wall. You can see this. There's still plenty of room at the back. So this is going to be my secondary dwelling that I'm getting construction started on very shortly. Now let's look at the numbers. So the primary residence was bought at $395,000. It's earning $500 a week or 6.6% rental yield. Very attractive. The total cost of the granny flat was about $200K. Okay. Now that includes everything. I'm talking about extending the driveway, putting up the fences, doing the turfing, connection to plumbing and electricity, etc. Everything. Okay. And it's going to earn me at least $400 a week. I'm pretty sure I will get $430 a week just from what I've seen, but it will be over a 10% yield. Now, the gross yield that I am going to get from this property is going to be about 7.86%. However, here's the kicker. This property can't turn into an actual income replacing asset until I significantly reduce the debt. Okay? How do I do this? By paying off a 30-year loan at 6% over 30 years? No. I started my portfolio quite a while ago, and I've got capital growth from some of my properties. Over the next couple of years, as I see this boom continuing in some of the areas that I've purchased my properties, I'll sell one or two of them. When I sell them, the profits are going to pay off this particular asset, these two assets that I have here. And by the time I pay them off, it'll probably turn into about a $60,000+ income. And yes, I'm still going to pay tax on all of that and costs. But it's going to put me in a much better position. Now, it's never too late to start a portfolio. What I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with high rental yield properties, but I don't expect this property to make me a lot of capital growth. I know its purpose. I'm not calling it something it's not. It is a rental yield property. If I want capital growth, I go for capital growth properties. But balance is key in your portfolio, and I think that's so important. Where I bought is the equivalent to Schofields here in Sydney. Similar distance. However, in Sydney, I'd be paying $1.15 million for a property, and I'd be getting a whopping 2.7% disgustingly low rental yield. Okay, so this just makes all the sense in the world. I'm paying, with the granny flat, that's half the cost. Now,